While you were dropping a dime into a payphone back in the 1970s, someone else was holding on to one that today could be worth thousands of dollars. Yes, a simple 1976 United States one dime. A coin you've probably seen hundreds of times, slipped into vending machines, or tossed into a jar without a thought. But here's the surprise. A handful of these dimes from America's bicentennial year carry hidden details that transform them from pocket change into serious collector treasures. So what exactly makes a 1976 dime special? And how can you tell if the one sitting in your drawer right now is worth a small fortune? Let's uncover the story behind this quiet little coin that defied its humble 10-cent destiny. To understand the 1976 dime, we need to rewind to a defining moment in American history, the bicentennial. It was a time of parades, fireworks, and pride. 200 years of independence celebrated in every corner of the country. The U.S. Mint joined in by creating special bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins, each stamped with the dual dates 1776 to 1976. But one coin quietly stayed the same, the dime. While other denominations received patriotic redesigns, the Roosevelt dime continued unchanged, carrying Franklin D. Roosevelt's familiar portrait on the front and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the back. So why is the 1976 dime so interesting if nothing about it looks different? Because even though it wasn't part of the official bicentennial series, some unexpected minting events that year turned a few ordinary dimes into extraordinary rarities. Let's talk about what the mint was producing that year. Every 1976 dime was made from copper and nickel, 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel, weighing about 2.27 grams. They were struck in 3 places: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with the D, and San Francisco with the S, mint mark for proof coins meant for collectors. Billions were produced, and, on the surface, they all looked identical. But some weren't. One of the most famous oddities connected to 1976 is the 1975 No S Roosevelt dime. It sounds strange, a coin dated 1975, but tied directly to 1976 production. Here's what happened. At the San Francisco Mint, as they prepared proof coins for collectors, a single die somehow missed its S mint mark. Before anyone noticed, a few proof dimes were struck and packaged into sets. Those sets were released in early 1976, right in the middle of bicentennial celebrations. When collectors realized that these flawless proof dimes had no mint mark at all, they became instant legends. A genuine No S proof dime, verified by PGS or NGC, can sell for $400,000 or more. One sold through Heritage Auctions in 2019 for nearly $456,000, one of the highest prices ever paid for a Roosevelt dime. But that's just the beginning. During 1976, the mint also saw transitional planchet errors, coins struck on the wrong metal blanks. Some dimes were struck on leftover silver planchets from pre-1965 production. Others landed on foreign coin planchets or were struck off-center. Each of those errors turned an ordinary dime into a rarity. So what are these dimes actually worth today? A regular 1976 P or 1976 D dime in circulated condition is still worth about face value, 10 cents. But in pristine, uncirculated grades, say mint state 65 or higher, values jump to $10 or $20. It's not life-changing, but it's a nice premium for a coin that old. Now, if you find an off-center strike, that's where it gets exciting. Slightly off-center pieces might sell for $50 to $150. If the strike is dramatically off, maybe half the design missing, collectors will pay $400 or more. Double die obverse examples, where Roosevelt's face or the lettering shows visible doubling, can bring $150 to $1,000 depending on sharpness. A silver planchet 1976 dime, authenticated and graded, can fetch anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000 or even higher. And that No S proof? Still the undisputed champion of the Roosevelt dime series, worth hundreds of thousands. How did all these mistakes happen? The 1970s were a hectic time for the U.S. Mint. Demand was soaring, new presses were being installed, and the bicentennial celebration required massive production runs. Amid the rush, dies were switched out quickly, and sometimes human error crept in. A missing mint mark here, a leftover silver blank there. And suddenly you have modern rarities born out of a chaotic but historic minting period. If you're curious whether your own dime might be special, there are a few simple things you can do. Start with the date. You want 1976. No mint mark means Philadelphia, D for Denver. Check the edge. Most dimes from that era are clad, which means you'll see a thin copper stripe running around the edge. If you don't see that copper color and the whole edge looks silver, you might be holding a rare silver planchet example. Next, grab a small scale. A regular clad dime should weigh about 2.27 grams. A silver planchet will weigh closer to 2.5 grams. That small difference is key. Then use a magnifier to check Roosevelt's profile and the lettering. Any doubling, missing details, or odd distortions could signal a valuable error. Finally, look for the mint mark itself. If it's an S, inspect carefully. A missing or weak S on what appears to be a proof coin could indicate the legendary no S error, the kind that changes lives. And here's an important tip every collector knows: never clean a coin. Polishing, scrubbing, or dipping it in chemicals will destroy its surface and reduce its value by 90% or more. If you think you found something valuable, handle it gently by the edges and send it for professional grading. You might be wondering why so many collectors chase a dime that looks exactly like every other dime. It's because rarity isn't about beauty, it's about circumstance. The 1976 dimes capture a moment in American history, a year filled with pride and mass production, but also human imperfection. Those imperfections, the small minting slips and transitional errors, created coins that are now symbols of chance and discovery. For seasoned collectors, that's the thrill, not just owning a coin, but owning a story. The 1976 dime embodies that perfectly. It's the underdog of bicentennial coins, the one that stayed in the background, yet ended up producing some of the most valuable modern errors in U.S. history. In recent years, the Roosevelt dime series has gained a quiet resurgence in the market. Auction houses have reported steady growth in prices for 1970s mint errors, especially the bicentennial-era pieces. Collectors are realizing that many of these coins are undervalued compared to classic silver pieces. And because most people never thought to save their 1976 dimes, high-grade examples are becoming harder to find. Even ordinary uncirculated 1976 D dimes graded MS 68 have jumped from $30 to $200 in the last few years. That's solid appreciation for a modern coin. Meanwhile, silver planchet and no S proofs continue to break records whenever they hit the auction block. Because in the world of coin collecting, it's not always the coins that look special that change your life. Sometimes, it's the ones that have quietly waited since 1976 for someone like you to finally notice.